Did House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tells Democrats that it is too dangerous to wait for an election to decide the presidency? No, that's not true. Pelosi's letter to House Democrats on November 18, 2019, warned that relying on the November 2020 election to decide if President Trump should be ousted instead of impeachment hearings to expose the truth is a dangerous position. Because the president is jeopardizing the integrity of the 2020 elections. She did not write it was too dangerous to wait for the election. The story originated from an article published by jobs-post.blogspot.com on November 19, 2019, titled, Pelosi Tells Dems Too Dangerous to Wait for Election to Decide President, which opened, quote, House Speaker and California Representative Nancy Pelosi has told her caucus that waiting for an election dangerous and risky. Sadly, that statement shows the ideals of the Democrat Party, who have no interest in free and fair elections, as they proclaim. What they really want is power, and they are willing to obtain that power at any cost, even if it means impeaching the duly elected President of the United States, even if it means tearing the fabric of the nation apart in their quest for unmatched power and the creation of a one-party state. End quote. Users on social media only saw this title, description and thumbnail. Quote, Pelosi tells Dems too dangerous to wait for election to decide President. House Speaker and California Representative Nancy Pelosi has told her caucus that waiting for an election dangerous and risky. Sadly, that's datum. End quote. This story claimed that Pelosi said waiting for the election to decide Trump's fate is too dangerous, which is not what the speaker wrote. This is the relevant section. Quote, the facts are uncontested, that the president abused his power for his own personal, political benefit, at the expense of our national security interests. The weak response to these hearings has been, let the election decide. That dangerous position only adds to the urgency of our action, because the president is jeopardizing the integrity of the 2020 elections. End quote. Pelosi never wrote that waiting for an election would be dangerous and risky. She said the hearings were important for preserving the integrity of the election, not as a substitution to a free and fair election. Read the full letter Speaker Pelosi sent to House Democrats. Quote, November 18, 2019 press release. Dear Democratic colleague, as we enter this pre-Thanksgiving week, we must extend the continuing resolution to keep government open and advance our legislative agenda to meet the needs of the American people. Thank you to the many members who participated in our speakers' meeting on jobs. The presentation of the challenges facing America's working families and the solutions presented by Transportation and Infrastructure Committee Chairman DeFazio and Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Pallone helped advance our infrastructure legislation. The discussion on USMCA was constructive and will continue this week. At the same time we legislate, we continue to investigate and litigate, as the impeachment inquiry proceeds. Last week, the country was impressed by the valor and patriotism of the dedicated public servants and career diplomats, appointed by the President, in speaking truth to power. This week, we will hear from additional witnesses who will courageously expose the truth and defend our democracy. The facts are uncontested, that the president abused his power for his own personal, political benefit, at the expense of our national security interests. The weak response to these hearings has been, let the election decide. That dangerous position only adds to the urgency of our action, because the president is jeopardizing the integrity of the 2020 elections. There are also some who say that no serious wrongdoing was committed, because the military assistance to Ukraine was eventually released. The fact is, the aid was only released after the whistleblower exposed the truth of the president's extortion and bribery, and the House launched a formal investigation. None of us comes to Congress to impeach a president, but rather to make progress for America's working families. However, our first order of business is our oath to support and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. As such, we are custodians of the Constitution and, for the people, defenders of our democracy. Thank you for your patriotic leadership. End quote.